Madison Square Park, 5:47 p.m., late September Thursday. A 5-year-old boy stood frozen near the fountain, screaming for someone who wasn't coming. Tears streaked his face. Navy blazer, khaki pants, leather shoes that cost more than rent. He clutched a stuffed rabbit and wailed the same word over and over. Mama, mama. Businessmen scrolled phones. Joggers swerved around him. A woman in Lululemon glanced, kept walking. The city had places to be. Aria Wynn didn't. She dropped her canvas grocery bag, milk, bread, a used strand paperback, and knelt on the cold concrete. 28 years old, green café apron still tied around her waist, hands smelling like espresso and dish soap. Hey, sweetheart, she said softly. Hey, va tutto bene. The boy's sobs hitched. He stared at her with wide brown eyes, wet and desperate. Va tutto bene, Aria repeated in Italian, the language she'd taught herself through library books and YouTube dreams of Florence. You're safe. I'm right here. His crying stopped, tilted his head like she'd just spoken magic. Mama? He whispered. Aria's chest cracked. No, baby, I'm not your mama, but I'm here. What's your name? He didn't answer, just stepped forward and wrapped small arms around her neck. She held him, felt his body shaking, her own pulse hammering. God, where are his parents? Then the park changed. 6 men in black suits materialized. Earpieces, hard faces. One spoke into his wrist. We have him. Southwest corner, civilian contact. Aria's shoulders tensed. Whoa, hey, I'm just trying to help. Step back, ma'am. I'm not letting go until you tell me who you are. Security for the Hale family. Step back. But the boy clung tighter, buried his face in her shoulder. The crowd parted. He moved through it like gravity bent for him. 6'3", charcoal wool coat, Tom Ford, perfectly pressed, dark hair silvering at the temples, face that had forgotten how to do anything but calculate. Sebastian Hale didn't run, didn't need to. The world made space. He stopped 3 feet from Aria, gray eyes locked onto hers, cold, assessing. Milo, he said, voice flat as concrete. The boy didn't move. Milo, come here. Aria's jaw tightened. He's okay. He was scared. I just heard him crying. And who are you? Not thank you, not as he heard. Just who are you? Aria Wynn. I work at Bean and Bloom on Union Square. I was walking home and I saw him and... You speak Italian. Not a question. A data point. Yeah, I studied it. He seemed to calm down when I... Milo. Sebastian stepped closer, tone unchanged. Let go of the woman. We're leaving. Milo shook his head, whispered something into Aria's neck that made her eyes go wide. She looked up at Sebastian. He says, you don't sing anymore. For 1 second, just one, something cracked behind those gray eyes. Pain, maybe, or the ghost of it. Sebastian crouched, eye level with his son. Milo, I need you to let go. Milo finally released Aria, stepped toward his father, but turned back, looked at her with desperate, drowning hope. Sebastian noticed, stood, studied Aria like she was a problem requiring a solution. In this world, where lost children find strangers who speak the language of grief, and while these events are inspired by the twists of real life, every name and face here is a creation of the narrative imagination. Don't move, Sebastian told her. Then to his head of security, voice low and sharp, find everything about her. Aria's hands went cold. The little boy, Milo, reached for her one more time. Sebastian scooped him up, turned, and walked toward a black Mercedes idling at the curb. But he glanced back once, and Aria knew, standing there with her spilled groceries and her secondhand book, that something just shifted, something she didn't ask for and couldn't control. Bean and Bloom Café, Union Square, 7:15 a.m., Friday morning rush. Aria stood behind the espresso machine, pulling shots for the army of half-awake New Yorkers who couldn't function without their caffeine fix, NYU students cramming for midterms, finance bros and Brooks Brothers barking orders like they owned the place. The milk steamer hissed, the register beeped. Somebody's phone buzzed with the same annoying ringtone on repeat. Normal, predictable, safe. Then the door chimed, and he walked in. 6'3", same charcoal coat, those gray eyes that looked like they'd audited your entire life, and found it insufficient. Sebastian Hale. The finance bros noticed immediately, started whispering. One pulled out his phone, probably texting his entire group chat that a billionaire just walked into their regular spot. Aria's hands froze on the portafilter. Milk foam overflowed into the drip tray. Sebastian approached the counter, didn't glance at the menu board, didn't acknowledge the line of people behind him. Aria Wynn, he said. Not a question. A statement of fact. She set down the steamer. Yeah, hi, is Milo okay? He didn't sleep. Woke up crying for the singing lady. Sebastian's jaw tightened. Just slightly. I need to hire you. The woman behind him cleared her throat impatiently. Aria blinked. I'm sorry, what? I need a language tutor, an emotional companion for my son. 4 days a week. 3 hours per session. I'll pay you $3,000 per week. The cafe went quiet. Even the espresso machine seemed to hold its breath. Aria's pulse hammered. $3,000 per week. That was more than she made in a month. Mr. Hale, I'm not a therapist. I'm aware. I've already hired 3 child psychologists. Milo won't speak to any of them. Sebastian pulled out a business card. Heavy stock, embossed lettering. Set it on the counter between them like a contract. My assistant will contact you this afternoon to arrange. No. Sebastian stopped. Looked at her like she'd just spoken a language he didn't have an algorithm for. No, he repeated. I don't know your son. I don't know you. And I'm not some service you can just purchase because you decided it's convenient. The finance bro behind Sebastian made a choking sound. Probably never heard anyone turn down that kind of money. Sebastian's expression didn't change, but his voice dropped, colder. Milo hasn't spoken more than 10 words at a time in 2 years. Yesterday, he told you something he's never told me. So yes, Ms. Wynn, you are exactly the service I need to purchase. Aria's hands shook. She set them flat on the counter to steady them. Why doesn't he talk to you? That's not your concern? It is if you want me to help him. His mother died. He hasn't processed it. I need someone who can connect with him, Aria finished quietly. Not manage him. Silence. The kind that made the morning rush feel like a held breath. Sebastian exhaled, just barely, like he'd been holding something in for 2 years and it was finally cracking through. 1 month, he said. Trial basis, $3,000 per week. If Milo doesn't improve, you walk away. If he does, he paused. We renegotiate. Aria stared at the business card. Sebastian Hale, founder and CEO, Hale Dynamics. She thought about her student loans, the $1,200 in her checking account, the fact that she'd been working 50-hour weeks just to break even. She thought about Milo's face, that desperate hope. 4 conditions, she said. Sebastian raised an eyebrow. You're negotiating? 1. I meet Milo in a neutral space first. Not your house. Somewhere he feels safe. 2. You don't tell me how to interact with him. I do what feels right. 3. If he asks me to leave, I leave. No questions. And 4. She met his eyes, held them. You participate, whatever I do with Milo, reading, games, conversations, you're there. At least twice a week. Sebastian's jaw clenched. I don't have time for... Then you don't have me. Aria crossed her arms. Your son doesn't need another employee, Mr. Hale. He needs his dad. 10 seconds. Sebastian didn't move. Didn't blink. The entire cafe watched. Then, fine. He turned to leave. Wait, Aria called. Where's the neutral space? Sebastian glanced back, and for the first time, something almost human flickered across his face. He asked if we could meet you at the library, the one with the old books. The Morgan Library? He said that's where his mother used to take him. Aria's throat tightened. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. I'll be there. Sebastian nodded once, left. The customer behind him immediately started ordering. The world spun back into motion. But Aria stood there, staring at that business card, realizing she'd just agreed to enter a world she knew absolutely nothing about. The Morgan Library meeting went better than expected. Milo's face lit up the second he saw Aria in the children's wing. They sat in the corner with the old oak shelves and the smell of leather bindings. She read The Little Prince in Italian, translating the fox's wisdom about what makes things important. Milo didn't say much, but he laughed. Twice. A sound like bells after years of silence. Sebastian watched from a leather chair 15 feet away, pretended to check emails, never once looked at his phone. Afterward, he made his move. Milo would like you to see his room, Sebastian said carefully. If you're comfortable. Aria looked at Milo. The kid nodded, hopeful. Okay, she agreed. The black Mercedes waited outside. Aria had never been in a car with heated seats. The leather was soft as butter. She tried not to stare at the temperature controls that probably cost more than her monthly rent. 22 minutes later, she counted on the dashboard clock. They pulled up to a building on Central Park, west that looked carved from marble and old money. Doorman in white gloves. Lobby chandelier that could fund a small country. Sebastian didn't acknowledge any of it. Just walked to a private elevator like breathing rarefied air was a basic human function. Penthouse, he told the operator. Aria's stomach dropped as they rose. 34 floors. She felt the altitude change in her ears. The doors opened directly into the apartment, and it was cold. Not the temperature, the atmosphere. Marble floors stretched forever. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park. The view alone probably worth millions. Furniture that belonged in the Museum of Modern Art. Everything white, gray, black, clinical. A Rothko on one wall. Small Giacometti sculpture on a pedestal that Aria recognized from her art history textbooks. Beautiful. Lifeless. Wow, she whispered. Milo's room is this way, Sebastian said. They walked down a hallway. Photographs lined the walls, all black and white, all professionally shot. Sebastian and a woman with dark curls and a smile that could light cities, laughing, dancing, holding a newborn. Ilara. Aria's chest tightened. The woman was stunning. Alive, in a way this apartment wasn't. Milo's room was worse. Custom bed shaped like a ship, shelves organized by color, educational toys lined up like soldiers, reading nook with pillows that looked like they'd never been sat on. Everything perfect, everything untouched. Milo walked in, stood in the middle, didn't touch anything. "This is where you sleep?" Aria asked gently. He nodded. "Do you like it?" He shrugged. Before Aria could respond, a voice cut through the room like ice over marble. "And who exactly are you?" Aria turned. A woman stood in the doorway, early 60s. Blonde hair and a perfect chignon. Chanel suit, the real thing, not a knockoff. Pearls that probably had provenance papers. Posture that screamed Vassar and summer homes in the Hamptons. "Mother," Sebastian said tightly. "This is Aria Wynn, Milo's new language tutor." Margaret Hale's eyes swept over Aria's thrift store cardigan and canvas Converse. The assessment took 3 seconds. The verdict was immediate and brutal. "I see." Margaret stepped into the room. "Sebastian, might I have a word?" "Not now. It's regarding Milo's care, so yes, now." Sebastian's jaw clenched. "Aria, would you excuse us for a moment? Milo can show you his books." Aria nodded, took Milo's hand. They walked to the reading nook, but she could hear every word through the open door. "You hired a cafe worker?" Margaret hissed. "Without consulting me?" "I don't need to consult you. I've been raising this child for 2 years, while you've been managing him. There's a difference." "She's clearly after your money, Sebastian. Look at her." Milo spoke to her, that's all that matters. Milo is vulnerable. "And people like her what, Mother?" Sebastian's voice dropped to something dangerous. "Say it. Finish that sentence." Silence. Aria pretended not to hear, opened Where the Wild Things Are. Started reading to Milo, in Italian. "Nel posto dove vivono gli esseri selvaggi." Milo leaned against her, closed his eyes. When Sebastian and Margaret returned, Margaret's face was frozen in polite hostility. "Ms. Wynn," Margaret said, voice dripping with practiced courtesy, "I do hope you understand the responsibility you're taking on. Milo is not an ordinary child. His needs are complex. His world is, well, not something people from your background typically navigate." Aria stood, met her eyes. "Mrs. Hale, I'm not here to navigate his world. I'm here to help him feel safe in it." Margaret's smile was sharp as glass. "How charming." She left. Sebastian exhaled. "I apologize for—" "Don't." Aria's voice was firm. "But you need to know something. If she makes Milo feel bad about connecting with me, I'm out. I don't care what you're paying." Sebastian stared at her. "Understood." Aria knelt next to Milo. "Hey, buddy, I'll see you Thursday, okay?" Milo nodded, then quietly, "Grazie." Aria's eyes stung. "Prego, sweetheart." As she walked to the elevator, she felt Sebastian's gaze following her. And outside, walking past the doorman in his white gloves and the Mercedes still idling at the curb, Aria pulled out her phone. One new text. Unknown number. "Margaret requested a background check." I declined. "But you should know she's not going to stop. S.H." Aria stared at the message. Then, at the building, towering above her. What the hell had she just walked into? The Penthouse Library. Thursday afternoon, week 2. Aria showed up with supplies from the Dollar Tree on Lexington. Construction paper, washable Crayola markers, Elmer's glue sticks. Probably cost her $8 total. In a room with first edition Hemingways? In a reading table worth more than a Honda Civic? "We're making a memory map," she told Milo, spreading the paper on the Persian rug. "You pick 5 things that make you happy. We draw them, then we make a story." Milo sat cross-legged, stared at the blank white paper like it was a test he'd already failed. "What if—" His voice was small, scared. "What if I can't remember happy?" Aria's throat tightened. She sat next to him, shoulder to shoulder. "Then we make new happy, starting today." She grabbed a purple marker, drew a wobbly music note. "This makes me happy. My mom used to hum while she cooked. Even when we didn't have much money, we had music." Milo watched her hand move, then slowly picked up a blue marker. He drew a bird. Tell me about the bird, Aria said softly. Mama, she liked birds. We went to Central Park. She said they were free. They are free, just like you're gonna be, Milo. He looked at her, brown eyes wet. How? By remembering it's okay to miss her and be happy, both can be true. And for the next 40 minutes, they drew a bird, a book shaped like a rectangle with crooked lines, a yellow star, a red house with a triangle roof. And finally, Milo drew a woman with curly hair, mouth open like she was singing. That's beautiful, Aria whispered. Milo touched the drawing with one small finger. Le mi manca. I miss her. Lo so. I know. They sat in silence, just breathing together. Outside, a siren wailed down Central Park West. 40 stories below, the city kept moving. Do you think? Milo's voice cracked. Do you think she'd be mad I like you? Aria's eyes filled. She cupped his face gently. Oh, sweetheart. No, I think she'd be so proud you're letting someone help you. Milo hugged her, tight, his whole body pressed against hers like she was the only solid thing in the world. The library door opened. Sebastian stood there, frozen. He'd been watching through the glass partition, Aria knew because she'd caught his reflection 20 minutes ago. He stopped, started again. I didn't mean to interrupt. You're not, Aria said. Come see what Milo made. Sebastian approached like he was walking onto thin ice, looked at the drawings spread across the Persian rug. His hand trembled, just slightly, when he touched the portrait of Alara singing. This is very good, Milo, he said quietly. Milo watched his father, didn't respond. Do you want to add anything? Aria prompted. I don't draw. You don't have to be good. You just have to try. Sebastian stared at her. Something in his eyes, resistance, fear, the weight of 2 years refusing to crack. Then he sat, picked up a black marker, drew a straight line, another, a rectangle, a building. That's your work building, Milo said. First full sentence he'd spoken to his father in days. Sebastian nodded. Yes. You're there a lot. Yes, I am. Why? Sebastian set down the marker, looked at his son, really looked. Because I didn't know how to be here. Without her. The room went silent. The climate control hummed. Somewhere in the kitchen a faucet dripped. Milo stared at his father. Me too. Sebastian's breath caught. Audible. Raw. He reached out, hesitated, then put his hand on Milo's shoulder. I'm sorry, Milo. I'm so sorry. Milo didn't pull away, just nodded. Aria stood quietly. I'm going to grab some water, give you 2 a minute. In the kitchen, she leaned against the sub-zero refrigerator, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. Very touching. Aria spun. Margaret stood in the doorway, silent as a ghost. Hermes scarf, Tiffany watch. Expression carved from polite ice. You're quite good at this, Margaret continued. At what? Making yourself indispensable. Aria's spine straightened. I'm helping a kid process grief. That's it. Is it? Margaret stepped closer, heels clicking on marble. Because from where I stand, you're inserting yourself into a vulnerable family, getting them dependent on you. It's a classic move. I don't want anything from them. Everyone wants something, Ms. Wynn. The question is, how long until you ask for it? Before Aria could respond, Sebastian's voice cut through the kitchen. Mother, stop. He stood in the doorway, face hard as the marble under their feet. You're leaving. Now. Margaret's eyes widened. Sebastian, I said now. Margaret looked between them. Then, with a tight smile that didn't reach her eyes, of course, I wouldn't want to overstep. She left. Heels echoing down the hallway. The private elevator dinged. Sebastian turned to Aria. I'm sorry. Again. You apologize too much for someone who claims to have control over everything. A ghost of a smile touched his mouth. Maybe I'm learning I don't. Their eyes held. Thank you, he said quietly. For what you did in there, with Milo, with me. That's what you're paying me for? No. Sebastian stepped closer, 3 feet between them. I'm paying you to teach him Italian. What you just did, that doesn't have a price. Aria's breath caught. From the library? Aria, can we make another one? The moment shattered. Duty calls, Aria said softly. But as she walked away, she felt Sebastian watching her. And for the first time, it didn't feel like surveillance. It felt like something that scared her more. Friday evening, week 3, Margaret insisted on a family dinner to properly welcome Aria into Milo's care routine. Sebastian tried to cancel it twice. Aria agreed to go. She wasn't afraid of some entitled Upper East Side grandmother. Big mistake. The dining room was museum-level formal, crystal chandelier from Prague, china that probably survived the Titanic. 7 forks. Aria counted them. 7. Margaret sat at the head of the table, in Hermes, in enough pearls to fund a semester at CUNY. Sebastian to her right, expression unreadable. Milo next to him, quiet. Aria across from Sebastian, feeling like she'd walked into an ambush dressed as dinner. So, Miss Wynn, Margaret began, smile sharp enough to cut diamonds. Tell us about your family, your background. My dad was a postal worker, mom was a librarian. Both worked hard, both good people. How lovely. And you attended CUNY, was it? For 2 years, then my dad got sick, had to drop out. Such a shame. Education is so important. Margaret sipped Chateau Margaux that probably cost more than Aria's monthly rent. And you've been working in food service? Yeah, cafe manager. Fascinating. Margaret signaled the private chef. First course arrived, some kind of foam on a bone china plate. I do hope you're comfortable. I know this world can be intimidating for those unaccustomed to it. Aria picked up the outermost fork, took a bite. The foam tasted like expensive air. It's just food, Mrs. Hale. Expensive food, but food. Sebastian's lip twitched, almost a smile. Margaret's eyes narrowed. Indeed. Tell me, what are your long-term goals? Surely you don't intend to work in a cafe forever. Haven't thought that far. Really? No ambitions? No dreams? I have dreams. I just don't need to prove them to strangers. The Waterford crystal seemed to hold its breath. Margaret set down her fork, audible click against china. I'm hardly a stranger, Ms. Wynn. I'm Milo's grandmother, and I have every right to know the character of the people influencing my grandson. Then ask about my character, not my tax bracket. Sebastian coughed into his linen napkin, definitely hiding a smile now. Margaret's face flushed. I am simply trying to judge me, Aria finished. You've been doing it since I walked in, and that's fine, but don't pretend it's about Milo. How dare you, Nonna? Everyone stopped. Milo stared at his grandmother, small hands clenched on the table edge. 5 years old and done with the performance. Milo, darling, stop being mean to Aria, Margaret blinked. I'm not being… Yes, you are. Milo's voice shook but held. You always do this. You did it to Mama's friends too. You think people are bad if they don't have fancy stuff. Milo, that's not… But Aria is good. She makes me feel safe. She doesn't care about forks. His voice cracked. And I like her. Aria's throat closed. She reached under the table, found Milo's hand, squeezed. Sebastian stared at his son, pride and shock fighting for control of his face. Margaret sat frozen, pearls catching the chandelier light. Milo, I only want what's best for you. Then let me have Aria. The words hung in the air like a verdict. Margaret stood abruptly, chair scraping marble. Excuse me. She left, heels echoing down the hallway. A door closed somewhere in the penthouse. Sebastian exhaled, long and slow. Well, that was overdue. Milo looked scared. Is Nona mad at me? No, Sebastian said firmly. She's mad at herself. There's a difference. Aria squeezed Milo's hand again. You were very brave. I don't want you to leave. I'm not going anywhere, buddy. Sebastian's eyes met hers across the table. There was something raw in his expression, gratitude, maybe more. Milo, he said quietly, why don't you go pick out a book for Aria to read tonight? I need to talk to her for a minute. Milo nodded, slid off his chair, paused next to Aria, hugged her quick, then ran toward his room. Silence. Just the two of them, crystal and china, and 10 feet of mahogany between them. I'm sorry, Sebastian said. You apologize too much. In this case, it's warranted. He stood, walked to the window overlooking Central Park, hands in his pockets. My mother, she's not a bad person. She's just scared, Aria finished. Scared of losing control, scared of being replaced. Sebastian turned. Yes. I'm not trying to replace anyone. I know. He stepped closer. But you have to understand, Alara was the only person who ever got through my mother's walls. When she died, those walls went back up, higher than before. What about your walls? Sebastian stopped, stared at her. Because from where I'm standing, Aria continued, you've built a fortress too, and Milo's been living inside it, suffocating. I was protecting him. From what? Life? Sebastian's jaw clenched. From pain, from loss, from being human? Aria stood, faced him across 5 feet of expensive rug. Sebastian, you can't control grief. You can only survive it. And Milo can't survive it if you keep pretending it doesn't exist. I'm not pretending. You replaced his mother with therapists and tutors and schedules. You gave him everything except the one thing he needs. Which is? You, present, messy, imperfect, human. Sebastian stared at her. Something in his eyes cracked, like ice breaking on the reservoir in March. I don't know how to do that, he admitted, voice barely a whisper. Then learn. I'll help you. And he took a step closer. They were 3 feet apart now. The air felt electric, charged. Why? He asked. Why do you care? Aria's heart hammered. Because I know what it's like to lose someone and forget how to breathe. And I know what it's like when someone reminds you that you can. Sebastian's eyes searched hers. Who reminded you? Milo did. The words hit him like a physical thing. She could see it in his face. Before he could respond, Milo's voice echoed down the hall. I found a book! The moment shattered. Aria stepped back, broke the current between them. Your son is waiting. She walked away. But Sebastian stood there in the dining room, surrounded by crystal and china and the ruins of his mother's judgment, feeling something he thought died 2 years ago, starting to wake up. The penthouse library, week 4, late afternoon light cutting through the windows. It started innocently. Aria and Milo curled up on the leather couch, reading The Giving Tree. She realized her mistake the moment Milo asked, Did your mama die too? Aria's hands froze on the page. What? You said your mama used to hum. You said used to, like she's gone. Her throat went dry. Milo, that's not... My mama is gone. Is yours? No, she's in Queens. She's fine. Then why do you look sad when you talk about her? Because Aria was sad. Because she hadn't called her mother in 3 weeks. Because after her dad died, her mom became a ghost in her own apartment, and Aria didn't know how to fix it, so she just stopped trying, stopped calling, stopped visiting, stopped being a daughter, because being a daughter meant looking at her own grief. It's complicated, Aria whispered. That's what Papa says when he doesn't want to talk about Mama. The words hit like a fist to the sternum. Aria stood abruptly. I need a minute. Can you draw for a bit? Milo nodded, confused. Aria walked out, down the hallway, past the Rothko and the photographs of Alara's perfect smile, found an empty study, closed the door, and broke. She slid down the wall, buried her face in her hands. God, what was she doing here? Playing house in a billionaire's penthouse? Pretending she could fix a broken family when she couldn't even call her own mother? Taking $3,000 a week to teach a traumatized kid Italian while her student loans piled up and her dreams gathered dust and her entire life was on hold because she was too scared to want anything for herself. And the worst part? She was falling for it, for Milo, for this illusion that she mattered here. Maybe Margaret was right. Maybe she was inserting herself where she didn't belong. The door opened. Aria? Sebastian? She wiped her eyes fast. Sorry, I just needed... You're crying. I'm fine. You're clearly not fine. Aria laughed. Bitter. Wet. Yeah, well. Welcome to being human, right? Isn't that what I told you? Sebastian closed the door behind him. Stood there awkwardly, hands in his pockets, like he'd never comforted anyone in his life. He probably hadn't. What happened? He asked carefully. Nothing. Milo just... He asked about my mom. And I realized I'm a fraud. Aria stood, faced him. I'm here teaching your son how to process grief when I can't even deal with my own. I'm telling you how to be present when I've been running from my own family for a year. I'm human, Sebastian interrupted quietly. You're human. Aria stared at him. He took a step closer. You think I haven't noticed? You carry a worn paperback everywhere. You check your phone obsessively but never answer calls. You flinch when people compliment you like you don't believe you deserve it. Stop. You're terrified that if you stop moving, stop helping others, you'll have to look at your own life. And then that scares you more than anything. Sebastian, so don't tell me you're a fraud. You're the most real person I've met in 10 years. Aria's breath caught. Why are you saying this? Because you need to hear it. He stepped closer, 2 feet apart now, and because I understand it. You do? I built an empire, so I wouldn't have to feel Alara's absence. I schedule every minute so there's no space for grief. I turned my son into a project because emotions are messy and projects have solutions. His voice cracked. So yes, I understand running. Aria's eyes filled again. Then why are we doing this? What's the point? The point, Sebastian said softly, is that Milo is braver than both of us. He's 5 years old and he's choosing to feel everything. The fear, the loss, the hope, and we owe it to him to try. Aria nodded, wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. Okay. They stood there, 2 broken people in an expensive room pretending they had answers. Then Sebastian did something unprecedented. He pulled out his iPhone, handed it to her. Call her. What? Your mother, call her, right now. Sebastian, I can't. Yes, you can. Because I can't help Milo if you're drowning. And you can't help him if you're running from yourself. Aria stared at the phone in her trembling hands, black screen reflecting her face back. I don't know what to say to her. Start with the truth. Aria took the phone, dialed her mother's number with shaking fingers, put it on speaker because her hands wouldn't stay steady. It rang, once, twice. But hello? Her mother's voice, small, hopeful, like she'd been waiting by the phone for weeks. Mom, Aria whispered. It's me. Aria, baby, are you okay? No, I'm not, but I want to be. Silence. Then her mother's voice breaking. Me too, sweetheart. Me too. Aria's face crumpled. She pressed her hand over her mouth to keep from sobbing. Sebastian watched her, and for the first time since Alara died, since he watched the paramedics shake their heads and cover her body with a white sheet, he felt something other than emptiness. He felt purpose, not in building companies or closing deals or controlling every variable. In this, in standing witness to another person's pain and not running from it. In learning, finally, that being human meant breaking. And sometimes it meant helping someone else put the pieces back together. Central Park, Saturday morning, week 5. Sebastian did something he hadn't done in 2 years. He took the day off. Aria arrived at the penthouse at 10 a.m., expecting a regular session. Instead, Sebastian stood in the foyer wearing Levi's and a gray Columbia sweatshirt, not a suit. Milo bounced next to him, practically vibrating with excitement. We're going to the park, Sebastian announced. Aria blinked. We are? You said I needed to be present. So, I'm present. Central Park in October was perfect. Gold leaves scattered across the great lawn, air crisp enough to see your breath. Families everywhere, normal families throwing frisbees and pushing strollers, just people. Milo ran ahead to the Heckscher playground near 7th Avenue. Aria and Sebastian followed, keeping him in sight. You look uncomfortable, Aria observed. I don't do casual well. Clearly, those jeans probably cost $400. Sebastian glanced down. They were a gift. From who? Tom Ford? Alara. His voice softened. She said I needed to stop dressing like I was always on my way to a board meeting. Aria's chest tightened. She sounds like she was good for you. She was the only person who ever told me the truth. Until you. They sat on a green bench, paint peeling, carved with initials from decades of teenagers. Watched Milo navigate the jungle gym with other kids. Can I ask you something? Aria said. About her. About that day. Sebastian tensed, hands gripping his knees. What do you want to know? What happened? If you want to tell me. For a long moment, Sebastian didn't speak, just stared at Milo climbing higher, fearless. Then, we had a board meeting. Investors from Singapore. High stakes. Alara was tired. She'd been rehearsing for a performance all week at Lincoln Center. I asked her to come anyway. Said it was important for optics. The CEO's wife. Supporting him publicly. Aria stayed quiet. Watched a jogger pass. A dog walker with 3 golden retrievers. She came. Sat through 3 hours of presentations. Smiled for photos. Shook hands with men who only saw her as my accessory. Sebastian's jaw clenched. Halfway home in the car, she said she had a headache. I told her to take Advil. We got to the building and she collapsed in the elevator. Brain aneurysm. Dead before we hit the lobby. His voice was flat, mechanical, like reading an incident report. Milo was upstairs with the nanny. He heard me screaming for help when they brought her up. He saw the paramedics. He saw me. Sebastian stopped. He saw me break. Aria's hand found his, squeezed. His palm was cold. And I've spent 2 years making sure he never sees me like that again, Sebastian continued. Controlled, structured, predictable. Because if I can control the environment, I can control the pain. But you can't. No. He looked at her, gray eyes raw. I can't. Sebastian, it wasn't your fault. I asked her to come when she should have been resting. She was an adult. She made a choice. You didn't know what would happen. Logically, I understand that. But logic doesn't help at 3 a.m. when I wake up reaching for her and she's not there. Aria's throat burned. No, it doesn't. They sat in silence, watching Milo laugh as he went down the slide. City sounds around them. Traffic on Central Park West, someone playing saxophone near the fountain, pigeons cooing. He looks happy, Sebastian said quietly. He is happy because you're here. I'm here because you forced me to be. I didn't force you. I just reminded you it's okay to try. Sebastian turned to her, studied her face like he was seeing it for the first time. Why do you do this? Do what? Give so much of yourself to people you barely know. Aria shrugged. Because someone did it for me once. After my dad died, my neighbor, Mrs. Chen, she brought me soup every day for a month. Didn't ask for anything, just showed up. and it saved me. So you're paying it forward. I'm surviving forward. There's a difference. Sebastian's gaze intensified. Aria, Papa, Aria, watch me. Milo stood at the top of the climbing structure, waving both arms. They waved back. And in that moment, watching Milo grin against a blue October sky, leaves falling like gold confetti, Sebastian felt something shift. The fortress he'd built around his heart cracked, just slightly, enough to let light in. Later, they grabbed Nathan's hot dogs from a cart on West Drive. Milo got mustard on his navy Ralph Lauren shirt. Sebastian didn't panic, didn't reach for a napkin, just laughed. Aria nearly fell off the bench. What? What? Sebastian asked. You just let him be messy. Is that progress? That's a miracle. Milo leaned against Aria's shoulder, exhausted from playing. Sebastian sat on her other side, close enough their shoulders touched. For a moment, just one moment, they looked like what they weren't, a family. Thank you, Sebastian said quietly, for today. You did this, not me. I did it because of you. Their eyes met, held. The city moved around them, but they stayed still. And Aria realized she was in trouble, because this stopped being a job 3 weeks ago. This became something real, something that terrified her. Walking back, Milo asked, Can Aria come to my school thing next week? Sebastian looked at her. What school thing? The fall showcase, all the kids show their art. Milo's eyes went wide and hopeful. Please? Aria started to decline. That was family territory, crossing a line. But Milo grabbed her hand. Please? Sebastian said quietly. We'd both like you there. Aria's heart hammered. Okay, yeah, I'll come. Milo grinned, skipped ahead. Sebastian's hand brushed hers just for a second. But that second changed everything. Aria's studio apartment, Astoria, week 6, Sunday evening. She sat on her futon with the broken spring, staring at her Chase Bank app. $12,847. 6 weeks ago, she'd had $1,200 and 3 maxed-out credit cards from her dad's medical bills. The money from Sebastian changed everything. She paid off 2 visas, bought groceries without checking prices, fixed the leak under her kitchen sink that had been dripping for 8 months. But she hadn't touched her student loans, hadn't re-enrolled at CUNY, hadn't done anything except wait. Wait for Thursday sessions with Milo. Wait for Sebastian's rare smiles. Wait for a life that wasn't hers. Her phone buzzed. Text from Sebastian. Milo asked if you'd like to join us for dinner tomorrow. Margaret won't be there. She stared at it, typed, I can't. I have plans. She didn't have plans. Another text. Tuesday then? Aria closed her eyes. This was the problem. She'd stopped living her own life because she was too busy being part of theirs. She was the employee who sat at family dinners, the tutor who held the father's hand in Central Park, the woman falling for a man who could never see her as an equal. Not really, because at the end of the day, he signed her paycheck. And that made everything else a transaction. She called Jessica, her only friend from CUNY who still picked up. I need to quit, Aria said. The cafe? No, the tutoring job. The one paying you $3,000 a week? Are you insane? Maybe, but I can't do this anymore. Why not? Because I'm starting to believe I belong there, and I don't. Jessica was quiet. Then, Aria, honey, you're allowed to want things. Not this, not him. Why not? Because people like me don't end up with people like him. That's not how the world works. That's fear talking. No, that's reality. Aria's voice cracked. I'm a college dropout who manages a cafe. He's a billionaire who built an empire. We exist in completely different universes. And the only reason those universes are touching right now is because I'm staff. Does he treat you like staff? Aria thought about Sebastian's hand in hers, his vulnerability in the study, the way he looked at her when Milo wasn't watching. No, she whispered. And that's the problem, because it would be easier if he did. Monday morning, Aria walked into the penthouse with a resignation letter in her canvas bag. Her hands shook putting it there. Milo ran to her. Aria, I made you something. A drawing. The 3 of them, stick figures holding hands in Central Park, crayon sun in the corner. Aria's heart shattered. It's beautiful, buddy. Can we put it on the fridge? Of course. Sebastian appeared from his home office, took one look at her face. What's wrong? Nothing. Can we talk after the session? His jaw tightened. Yes. The 3 hours with Milo were torture. They read, they drew, they practiced Italian verbs. Milo was happy, oblivious. When he went to his room to play, Aria and Sebastian stood in the library, I'm resigning, she said before she lost her nerve. Sebastian went still. What? I can't do this anymore. Did my mother? No, this isn't about her. Aria pulled out the letter. White envelope, her name typed on the front, hands shaking as she held it out. Sebastian stared at it like it was in a foreign language. Your own life. What does that mean? It means I need to figure out who I am when I'm not here. I need to re-enroll in school. I need to exist outside of your world. You do exist outside of it. Do I? Her voice rose. I spend more time in this penthouse than my own apartment. I think about Milo more than I think about my own future. And She stopped herself. You what? She couldn't say it, couldn't admit she was falling for him. That would make leaving impossible. I just need to go, she said quietly. Sebastian's expression hardened. Back to the fortress. Is this about money? I can increase your rate. No. The word came out sharp. This is exactly why I need to leave. You think everything has a price. That's not what I meant. Yes, it is, because that's how you solve problems. You write a check, you hire someone, you control the variables. Aria's voice shook. But you can't control me, Sebastian, and I won't let myself become another thing you manage. I don't see you as a... Yes, you do. You see me as Milo's tutor, as the woman who fixed your son, but you don't see me. That's not true. Then what am I to you, honestly? Sebastian opened his mouth, closed it, because he didn't have an answer that wouldn't sound like a transaction. Aria nodded. That's what I thought. She walked toward the door. Aria, wait. She turned. I'll finish out the week for Milo, but after Friday, I'm done. He needs you. No, he needs you. And he's finally got you. My job is done. She left. Sebastian stood alone in the library, holding her resignation letter, feeling the walls he'd just started to tear down, slamming back into place. In this world where vulnerability feels like weakness and walls feel like safety, sometimes the bravest thing isn't staying, it's knowing when to walk away. The Dalton School Gymnasium, Friday evening, week 7, Aria didn't go. She told Milo on Wednesday, her last day, that she couldn't make it. Had to work a double shift at Bean and Bloom. A lie. She just couldn't face Sebastian. Milo cried, quietly. The kind that was worse than screaming. You promised, he whispered. I know, baby. I'm sorry. Is it because of Papa? Aria's world stopped. What? I heard you fighting. I heard you say you were leaving. Oh, Milo. Did I do something wrong? No. Aria knelt in front of him, gripped his small shoulders. You did everything right. You're the bravest kid I know. But sometimes grown-ups have to make hard choices, and I don't want you to go. I know. Milo pulled off his music note necklace, the one his mother gave him, held it out with both hands. Take this. Milo, no, that's your mom's. She'd want you to have it. Because you taught me it's okay to let people in. Aria's vision blurred. She took the necklace. Silver chain warm from his skin, held it like it was made of light. I love you, buddy, she whispered. I love you too. That was Wednesday. Now it was Friday. Sebastian stood in the Dalton Gymnasium surrounded by proud parents and children's finger paintings. He wore a suit. Armor. Margaret beside him, mercifully quiet for once. Where's your tutor? She asked. She's not coming. I see. Don't. Margaret looked at her son, really looked. Sebastian, you're miserable. I'm fine. You're many things. Fine isn't one of them. Before he could respond, the principal took the microphone. Welcome speech. Proud students. Scattered applause. Sebastian scanned the room for Milo, found him standing next to his display board, alone, eyes searching the crowd, looking for Aria. Sebastian's chest tightened. One by one, kids presented. A painting of a golden retriever, a clay dinosaur, a collage of Yankees logos. Then Milo's turn. He walked to the front. 5 years old, navy blazer, clutching a poster board covered in drawings. The room went quiet. Everyone knew. The kid who barely spoke. The teachers. The other parents. They watched, waiting for him to freeze. Sebastian held his breath. Milo set down the poster, looked at the crowd. His voice was small but steady. My art is called Home, he said. The poster showed 3 drawings. First, a dark house, empty. Second, a house with 2 stick figures, Milo and Sebastian sitting far apart. Third, a house with 3 figures holding hands. One had curly hair. After my mama died, Milo continued, voice shaking. Our home was sad. Papa worked a lot. I didn't talk much. Everything was quiet. Parents shifted. Margaret's hand went to her throat, but then Aria came. She taught me Italian, like Mama used to speak. She read me stories. She helped me remember it's okay to miss Mama and still be happy. Sebastian's eyes burned. This picture, Milo pointed to the third drawing, is what home feels like now, even though Aria isn't here tonight, even though she had to leave. His voice cracked. She showed me that family isn't just the people who live with you, it's the people who make you feel safe. Milo looked directly at Sebastian. And she showed Papa how to be my dad again. Silence. Then scattered applause, growing. Someone wiped their eyes. The principal walked over, squeezed Milo's shoulder. That's beautiful, Milo. Thank you. Milo walked back to Sebastian. Did I do good? Sebastian knelt, pulled his son into his arms. You did perfect. I miss Aria. I know, so do I. Margaret touched Sebastian's shoulder. Go to her. He looked up. What? That woman just did what I couldn't. She brought my grandson back. And she clearly brought you back too. Margaret's eyes were wet. Don't be a fool, Sebastian. Not about this. 23 minutes later, Bean and Bloom Café, 8:47 p.m., Aria wiped down tables, radio playing Coltrane. She was the only one left. The door chimed. Sebastian and Milo stood there, Milo holding his poster, Sebastian holding his iPhone. We're closed, Aria said, voice unsteady. I know, Sebastian replied, but I need to show you something. He played the video, Milo's speech, every word. Aria's hands shook. Tears streamed down her face. Milo ran to her, hugged her waist. You came to my heart even though you couldn't come to the school. Aria sobbed, knelt, held him tight. I'm so proud of you. Sebastian stepped closer. You were right. About everything. I did see you as someone I could manage, someone I could control. He paused. But watching Milo tonight, I realized something. You didn't just teach him Italian. You taught us how to be a family again. Aria stood. Sebastian, I'm not asking you to come back as an employee. I'm asking you to come back as someone who belongs. Not because I'm paying you. Because we need you. Because I need you. This is crazy. We barely know each other. I know you take your coffee black. I know you touch your book when you're anxious. I know you cry during Pixar movies. I know you're terrified of wanting things because you think you don't deserve them. He stepped closer, and I know that I haven't felt alive in 2 years until you walked into my life. Aria's breath caught. What are you saying? I'm saying I don't have a contract for this. I don't have a plan. I just know that when you left, you took all the light with you. Milo tugged Aria's hand. Please come home. Aria looked between them, father and son, both looking at her like she was the answer. I'm scared, she whispered. So am I, Sebastian admitted. But maybe that's the point. Maybe we're supposed to be scared together. Aria pulled out the music note necklace, handed it back to Milo. Your mom would want you to keep this. Milo shook his head. You keep it until you're ready to stay. Aria closed her hand around it, looked at Sebastian. Okay, she said. Let's try. 6 months later, April, the penthouse didn't look the same. Milo's drawings covered the Sub-Zero fridge, held up with magnets from the Met and the Natural History Museum. Aria's art history textbooks stacked on the coffee table next to Sebastian's Wall Street journals. Lego pieces scattered across the Persian rug. The Rothko still hung on the wall, but next to it now, a child's painting of a blue bird in flight. Messy. Alive. Home. Aria woke up on the leather couch where she'd fallen asleep reading Charlotte's Web to Milo the night before. She wore Sebastian's old MIT sweatshirt, sleeves rolled up 3 times. Her Astoria studio was subleased now. She'd moved in 3 months ago, not because Sebastian asked, because Milo did, and because she wanted to. She was back at CUNY, part-time, online, finishing her degree. Sebastian offered to pay. She refused, used her savings. They compromised. He covered Milo's Italian lessons, which she still taught. She paid her own tuition. It wasn't perfect. They argued about money, about boundaries, about people assuming she was the nanny. But it was real. Sebastian appeared in the kitchen doorway, barefoot, Levi's and a faded Knicks t-shirt, his weekend uniform now. Coffee? He offered. Please. He poured from the Nespresso machine, handed her a blue mug, her favorite, the chipped one from Goodwill she'd brought from Astoria. They sat together, shoulders touching. Milo wants to go to the park, Sebastian said. Again? We went yesterday. He likes routines now, happy routines. Aria smiled. Fair enough. Milo ran in, Spider-Man pajamas, hair sticking up. Is Nona coming? Aria and Sebastian exchanged a look. Margaret. It took 4 months, but she came around. Started with an apology, stiff, formal, delivered over lunch at Perse, then small gestures, asking about Aria's classes, remembering she took her coffee black. Last month, she showed up with a gift, First edition Italian poetry, Dante's Inferno. For your studies, Margaret had said. Alara would have liked you. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. They'd cried, hugged. Not perfect, but a start. Yeah, buddy, Sebastian said. Nana's meeting us there. Central Park, 11 a.m. They spread a blanket near Bethesda Fountain, the same spot where Sebastian and Aria first met. Full circle. Milo read aloud in Italian to Margaret, who listened with surprising patience. Sebastian unpacked turkey sandwiches from Zabar's. Aria lay on the grass, April sun on her face. You look happy, Sebastian observed. I am happy. Even though I forgot napkins? Especially because you forgot napkins. Means you're human. He lay down next to her, their fingers interlaced. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? For not giving up on us, when it would have been easier to walk away. Aria turned her head. You know what I learned? What? Walking away is easy. Staying, that's the brave part. Sebastian kissed her forehead. I'm still terrified I'll mess this up. You will, so will I. That's the deal. Not a great deal. It's the only real one. Milo ran over, flopped between them. Nona says we should get gelato from that place on Columbus. Does she? Sebastian asked. Margaret approached, actually smiling. The boy makes a compelling case. They packed up, walked toward Columbus Avenue. Milo held Aria's hand. Sebastian held Milo's other hand. Margaret walked beside Aria. You've been good for them, Margaret said quietly. They've been good for me, too. Margaret stopped, looked at her. You are family now. I hope you know that. Aria's throat tightened. Thank you. That evening, Milo asleep, Aria and Sebastian on the balcony overlooking Central Park, city lights spreading forever. Can I ask you something? Aria said. Always. Do you think Alara would be okay with this, with us? Sebastian was quiet. Then, I think she'd be glad Milo is loved, and I think she'd like you. You think? I know. He pulled Aria closer. She believed people come into our lives when we need them most, not when it's convenient, when it's necessary. Aria rested her head on his shoulder. I needed you too, both of you. I know. Comfortable silence. Sirens wailing somewhere below, the city breathing. I've been thinking, Sebastian said. Dangerous. About the future. Aria sat up, looked at him. Not marriage, he said quickly. Not yet, but eventually, when it feels right. Sebastian Hale. Are you planning variables again? I'm considering possibilities. You're terrified of losing control. Completely. He cupped her face. But I'd rather be terrified with you than safe without you. Aria kissed him. Then let's be terrified together. 3 weeks later, Milo's school Mother's Day project. Kids writing about maternal figures. Milo wrote about 2 women. My mama taught me to love music. Aria taught me it's okay to love again. Both of them showed me that family is the people who stay. He read it aloud, voice steady. Aria sat in the audience, crying happy tears. Afterwards, she knelt in front of him. Your mama would be so proud of you. Milo hugged her, whispered, I think she sent you. So we wouldn't be alone. Aria looked over his shoulder, Sebastian watching them. He mouthed, thank you. She mouthed back, for what? He smiled, pointed at Milo, at himself, at her, everything. Healing isn't about forgetting the pain. It's about learning that pain doesn't have to be the end of the story. Sometimes the people we need most show up in the most unexpected places. In a crowded park, in a moment of crisis, in a language that sounds like home. Sebastian Hale learned that love isn't about control. Milo learned that opening your heart doesn't mean losing the people you've lost. And Aria, she learned she was never too broken to be someone's safe place. Because family isn't about blood. It's about the people who see you at your worst and choose to stay anyway.